Hi, my name's Elena, and welcome to Living with Batman. I have been married to a bipolar addict that is currently treated with medication, and hence the acronym Batman, which coincidentally is what he likes to call himself when he's in full-blown mania. I'm not a counselor or a therapist, and I'm not really here to give you any advice. However, maybe just by sharing my experiences, some of you out there can relate, and maybe it'll ease some of the pain, and maybe you'll get some ideas from me. Anyways, being the first video, I thought I would share a little bit of background. When I first met my husband, he was not diagnosed bipolar. Looking back now, of course, I can see that he was in a manic state when we met. Of course, as you all know, that's what makes it all exciting in the beginning. He was on an antidepressant, but for panic attacks, and that's all he was on. And for the first 2 years after that, I wouldn't say that that first mania was a full-blown. He was probably just in a hyper state. But he calmed down, and we were good for about 2 years. And that was about 3 years ago. He went into a full-blown mania, and it lasted a very long time, probably looking back about 8 months. And I wasn't really sure what was going on, but we went through a lot of doctors and a lot of psychiatrists, and I finally got a diagnosis of bipolar. We went through a lot of psychiatrists, which of course he didn't like any of those. And we went through a lot of medication changes, and he complained that he didn't like any of the side effects of them. So at the end of that manic episode, he did go through a depression, and I'm going to go through that experience a little more in another video. But once he became stable, he went back to just taking his antidepressant medication. Slightly higher than what he had before he had the mania, but still just an antidepressant. Now, for 2 years after that, he was completely stable. And in November of last year, of course, he went into full-blown mania again. Now, mainly, I'm making this video because I want to be able to record and look back and be able to reflect on, because now I do see that there were signs that it was coming. And I was very unprepared and very naive, because after the first episode 3 years ago, and we were stable for 2 years, either I didn't want to remember, or I'd forgotten just because of the time pass, and didn't realize that this would happen again. And I can tell you it will more than likely happen again. And the next time, hopefully, I'm a little bit better prepared. Now, the first sign that I should have seen was that he came home from work one day, and he was laughing because someone at work had thought that he was drunk at work. And I know that this isn't true, and that should have been a sign to me. But we both laughed it off, and I should have realized that he was in a hyper state at that point. We did realize about a week later what was going on, and he went to the doctor. And another mistake that I made right there was I was working that day, so I let him go on his own. Well, I won't be making that mistake again, because what she did was just sign a piece of paper for him to be off of work. Now, not every bipolar is capable of going to work all the time. I realize that. But for some, I suppose, but especially for my husband, it makes him much more stable to have a steady routine every day. So when he went off of work, I believe it sent him into a full-blown mania, because all he had to do was sit around the house and think and obsess with everybody around him. Now, this episode lasted probably till about February. During that time, I did a lot more research this time around than I did last time. So I encourage everybody to go out. There's lots of resources on the internet, lots of forums, and I did connect with a lot of people on a lot of the forums, and that was really great. The only thing, like I said, that I didn't find too many of was videos from bipolar spouses on YouTube. So anyways, as well, I encouraged him at the time to go to bipolar forums and on Facebook and things like that. And he did do that. Now, the only thing is that for my husband, I caution him because if you don't monitor, and I know it makes it sound like he's a little kid, a teenager, but I like to monitor what he's talking about, because sometimes he's talking to these other bipolar people and they're talking about their meds, and all of a sudden everybody's a doctor and telling him that he should get off of that or maybe reduce that. And so I've encouraged him to go to the psychiatrist, and we will discuss it with the psychiatrist. So I'm happy to say that he's on a very good regimen of medication right now. So that was one thing that I just wanted to point out for me. For him going on the internet, you have to be careful when bipolars are talking to each other, that sometimes you've got some manics on there and they might not be giving the best advice. But anyways, now that he is back at work and a little bit more stable, like I said, I wanted to go back and look at a few of the things that helped me get through this episode. And I'll be dealing with those in the next video. Thank you, and I'll see you again soon.